morning, viewers. Thank you very much. Welcome to Punchline Africa Television, broadcasting all the way from the continent of Africa to the world. Good morning. Good morning wherever you are across the continent of Africa again, and across Europe, in Asia, in Russia, in Ukraine, in China, South America. Good morning. Those still sleeping like those in the United States, where His Excellency the Deputy President William Samoei Ruto is still sleeping. Good morning. We have woken up already in Africa working, and we are watching right from your presentations and watching whatever computer-generated images that are coming out of that place. It is very interesting. How could you generate a computer system to give you the motorcade of Obama to make it look like it is the motorcade of... There is nothing wrong with going with one car. In the United States, there is a lot of security and nothing will happen. But don't generate images of computers saying this is what is happening. Good morning. Good morning, Africa. The entire continent of Africa needs help. We need quite a lot of things to be done. And a good morning, viewers across the continent of Africa again. Those in Harare, in Tripoli, in Abidjan, in Asmara, in Khartoum, in Mogadishu, in Kigali, in Kampala, in Lubumbashi, in Kinshasa, in Harare, in Cape Town, in Johannesburg, in Maputo, in Dar es Salaam, in Benin. Good morning. Those across in Tripoli, in Algiers, in Rabat. Look at it. Chad, Jamena. What's going on here? Eritrea becomes the only African country to stand with Russia peacefully, permanently. Eritrean president doesn't joke. I know him for a long time, since 1987 in London. My brother has never liked anything to do with America. So I am not surprised that he stood with the Russians on the question of Ukraine. This morning we have lined up quite a lot of topics. And these topics are going to come from one angle to the other. But to begin with this morning, this is the MATSANGA Africa perspective. I'm looking at the topic today. The main thing is Kenya. This morning, Kenya, the situation in Kenya, the political situation, the temperatures, the flares, the agreements, the denials, the secrets. What is going on here? Are people serious? Is there an element that is confusing the entire scenario? Why are people not honest, saying, I am not coming? Why are we issuing statements at this hour? That is what I want to look at. Before I do that, I would like my production team across in Nairobi, today the headquarters, to play for me the clips of one of the leaders of opposition or leaders of the parties that talks about unity and does not want to practice unity. Let's play the clip of Kalonzo. Is Africa all right? But viewers, as we go, before you do that, as the clip is being prepared, let's look at the headlines. The news headlines. The Daily Nation. Raila to Kalonzo, we don't need you. A wiper out storm battle. A wiper out storm. That is the headline on the Daily Nation. Battle of wits and the ferocious hardliners. Yesterday, before anything took off, I had already picked up very serious intelligence. And I have a network, so don't ask me how. But I had picked up intelligence from Kalonzo's docket that Kalonzo had met a former president of one of the East African states. And he had complained to this man, who is also a friend of mine, about certain things that were not going right in this country, Kenya. One of the hardliners that I know, I've singled out and I've known and I've followed for a long time. I am happy that the enemies that touch Matsanga, all of them end up fighting each other. Makau Mutua and Enoko Wambua. Does somebody remember Enoko Wambua as an editor in the Daily Nation? Does somebody remember the story he wrote which made Ocampo to come for me? Does he remember Enoko Wambua? Anybody who remembers Enoko Wambua in 2012 who wrote a story that Matsanga tampered with witness number 4. That was Enoko Wambua on instructions of Mutua, Makau Mutua. Makau Mutua wrote it to Ocampo. The story came from the Daily Nation, written by Enoko Wambua, to go and arrest me. Enoko Wambua still remains a surrogate of George Soros funding. This evening I'm revealing in our dispatches, the diaspora dispatches, I'm revealing so many things. So you better tune yourself to this television station this evening at 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. You'll learn quite a lot how George Soros has been operating in Kenya and how he's confusing the situation in Kenya, apparently. For me, there is only one thing that will save me: telling the truth. And nothing but the truth. But any enemy, any person who comes to attack me will always fall by the side. If that video is ready, can you play it? And bring me the
matter that has made me call for this meeting. It would be fair that we start with a word of prayer. I want to ask Apostle Collins to lead us in a word of prayer.
Thank you. I want us to pray. Father, in the name of Jesus, I give you praise this morning. Thank you for giving us another chance. Lord, I pray as we are going to give the brief, I pray that you are going to back our words. In the mighty name of Jesus, I pray and believe. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joy. And thank you, Pastor Apostle Collins. I hear a lot of silence. Please relax. Remember, I used those words on Saturday. It's time for us to relax as a nation, even as we embark on some very important national duties and obligations. This is therefore my personal statement based on the NASA deal between, and I'm just quoting it as it was written. It doesn't mean I do not regard my brother as officially and commonly referred to, but this is between Mr. Raila Amolo Odinga and Mr. Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka, dated the 30th April 2017. Ladies and gentlemen, as we begin the fresh round of political negotiation in our country, leading to the August 2022 general election, I've been compelled to release the above document in order to answer in part some of the criticism that has been leveled against me, to wit, and I quote, the indecisive kingmaker, end of quote, and the often quoted statement made before the NTV reporter, I believe that's my son Kennedy, to to the effect that I would be a fool to support Honorable Raila Odinga a third time without a measure of reciprocity. In releasing this document, it is imperative to mention that I've tried twice to have Professor Makau Mutua convene a meeting between me and my brother, Honorable Raila Odinga, in his capacity as the depository of this most important document. On his part, Professor Makau stands in breach of his obligation under the agreement, since he has already joined Honorable Raila Odinga's campaign team. By accepting nomination of the Orange Democratic Movement to run as president for the 5th time, I believe my brother Raila Odinga has committed an irreparable material breach of this agreement. Now that's a legal term defined, I quote, irreparable material breach shall mean a repudiation, reneging, a violation, or an ouster in any way of any of the articles of the agreement. Attending the ODM delegates conference, at which my brother was named a presidential flag bearer, would have meant on my part acquiescence of the impugned breach. I wish therefore to state as follows. My brother has the option of abiding by the terms of this live legal agreement, live binding legal agreement, and thereby emerging, in my view, as a true national, regional, and indeed continental democratic hero, or he has the option of choosing to act in utter defiance and repudiation of the agreement, and thereby compounding the trust deficit. In both cases, Honorable Raila Odinga remains a brother with whom I've labored in absolute good faith to bring true democratic change to our country. As already publicly expressed, I'm ready to work with him again under the three-pillar grand coalition government for the sake of our nation. I urge that we engage in fresh negotiations. I urge that as we engage in fresh negotiations, this document forms the basis of such negotiation. I want to give you just a copy, and actually spread. I'll distribute the copies of the agreement, but I just want to highlight one or two small paragraphs in it. It's actually entitled the NASA Deal. And by its nature, this document was a secret document. But it starts by saying this memorandum is a binding legal agreement between the parties. And the parties have been explained. And I've highlighted the paragraph which reads, the commitments made herein shall bind Principle H, read Raila, and Principle Q, read Kalonzo Musyoka, in both the 2017 and 2022 elections. By this agreement, the parties agree that Principle H will be NASA's presidential nominee, and that Principle Q will be his running mate. And then, most importantly, this agreement will remain valid until the 2022 elections, whether or not NASA wins the 2017 presidential elections. Please underline the words, whether or not we won the elections. And on the Articles of Agreement, I highlight Principle 2. Principle H agrees in a public MOU to serve one term and publicly endorse Principal Q as a presidential candidate for 2022. Therefore, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, if anybody has had any difficulty whatsoever with my sense of negotiation and my ability to play it straight and candidly,
Thank you very much, viewers. Welcome back to the show. That was Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka, the leader of White Party in Kenya. I want to cross over to our correspondent who is in the CBD of Nairobi, Daniel Sean Wesonga. Wesonga, African perspective. Are we honest people in Africa? Do we, an African comes up to say, this was my secret with so and so. A secret that is supposed to be kept a secret. And then you come up years later and said, this is it. Is Kalonzo ready to be on the wagon? Or Kalonzo should be left? The train has left. What do you think?
Thank you so much, Dr. Matsanga David. And of course, even as we talk about this, it just reminded me of something that happened in the Bible so many thousands of years ago. We had someone called Lot, and when the city of Sodom and Gomorrah was being destroyed, God commanded him not to look behind. But unfortunately, one of the wives looked behind, and she became a stone of salt. So that is what reminds me of Kalonzo Musyoka. I don't believe that he is genuine in whatever he's talking about, because right now, as you know, even President Uhuru Kenyatta had told his deputy that nitakuwa na yangu 10 na yako 10, but the dynamics changed. People will always disagree. People will always come to consensus depending on how they relate to one another. And therefore, even when he's talking about the NASA MOU, it reminds me that Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka was among the key individuals in NASA who initiated the dissolution of NASA so that they can be able to form a new outfit called One Kenya Alliance together with Musalia Mudavadi and Moses Wetangula. However, as fate would have it, One Kenya Alliance could not stand and Musalia and Wetangula bolted out. So therefore, when he's coming back to bargain with Azimio la Umoja on the basis of NASA coalition, it really does not make sense. And I know Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka is a lawyer, a senior counsel for that particular matter. And the moment they went to the registrar of political parties and dissolved NASA, I believe everything that was to do with NASA coalition was buried with that particular dissolution. And therefore, anything that emanates or any remnant that comes from out of NASA should be rendered null and void. It can never be a binding contract to be able to be used as a basis of negotiation. So, Dr. Matsanga, to me, when I look at Kalonzo Musyoka going back, trying to scratch back whatever is in the past, then I see him actually building up a case for him to be able to bolt out of these particular negotiations. Because in his statement, he said that he is giving Raila Odinga this MOU from 2017 so that he can either honor it or maybe treat it with contempt. So the question is, what happens if Raila Odinga does not honor this MOU? Does it mean that Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka will continue with negotiations with Raila Odinga and work with him? And what if Raila Odinga endorses him? So to me, Dr. Matsanga, it doesn't make any sense, because if he was willing to work with Raila Odinga, he wouldn't have come up with these conditions, because it simply means that if Raila Odinga does not honor the 2017 MOU, then Kalonzo Musyoka has the choice of not working with him. So that is not the way coalitions are formed. Coalitions are formed on the basis of willingness of both parties to come together and work for a common agenda. But if you come to a new coalition and start demanding for fresh demands, then it doesn't really make sense. It's just akin to a case where a man and a wife have divorced, and of course it is the wife who initiated the divorce, and then years later on, the woman still comes back and wants the man to continue providing with the responsibilities and the roles that he used to provide while they were married together. It doesn't bind Dr. Matsanga. So therefore, to answer your question, I believe in Africa we have people who are very, very ingenuous, people who are pretentious, and people who do not really regard being a gentleman, Because if you are truly a gentleman, you should be able to see that, look, in 2017, we even had an agreement between President Uhuru and his deputy, William Ruto, albeit by the word of mouth. We had even an agreement between various political players at that particular time. And just to mention, Dr. Matsanga, by then, we did not have anything in law to anchor solid agreement in terms of MOUs. So I believe for Kalonzo Musyoka to come on board today for Azimio La Umoja, he should be able to come without any conditions. He should come and be able to negotiate on a very neutral, a very new, and a very, very equal grounds with other parties. How do you think maybe the DAP Kenya party will feel when Kalonzo is coming to request that he is coming on board as One Kenya Alliance and they are demanding half of government? How will even the likes of Charity Ngilu with Hanak will feel? How will other parties, small parties which have joined Jubilee, it was through Jubilee, how will they feel? So to me, I think, Dr. Matsanga, that is a very, very outrageous demand. And it actually takes us back, when we are thinking that we are taking 2 steps forward, Kalonzo is coming and taking 3 steps forward in this kind of negotiation. So all we have to do is to make sure that we put aside whatever that is in the past and we focus into the future. Because as we waste time talking about 2017 and the NASA MOU, the Kenya Kwanza coalition is actually making steps going forward. So in this particular scenario, we're going to be left lagging behind while we fight about unnecessary things.
So is our time being consumed by wasting time looking at what is going on? Are we wasting time? It is a game that the opponents of Raila Amolo Odinga have already gone. They have been campaigning for 4 years. Here we are in Azimio. You land in Azimio, you open up Azimio, and then you find bottlenecks. Is that not a deliberate tactic? Is it not a deliberate attempt to derail Raila Odinga's way forward? Because this delaying tactics, as you rightly put it, is it helping? Will it help the campaigns? People are on the ground. We have 3 governors in Ukambani who support Raila Odinga. Even if Raila Odinga tried as 100 times with Angel Gabriel, with all Ukambani leaders in one basket, Raila Odinga will not get all those votes in Ukambani. Some will go somewhere else. Some might not vote. So why can't the strategists of Azimio pick up from here and say those who want to come can come? Those who are not coming, thank you, God bless you. Set your own way, go your own way. We meet ahead and count the votes. Because they are also, you see, the more we go on, and I want to give a political direction as a strategist, the more you go on haggling about Kalonzo joining this fund, Kalonzo is going to disrupt already the governors who have joined here. He's just spoiling for us. Kalonzo is a good guy. He has no problem. People have termed him as a kingmaker. He can make a king. Let him count his votes. Let him have a post-election agreement with Raila if there is need. But for now, if he doesn't want, let him stand either. He goes, is with Raila, or he's gone. Because for me, I don't see any reason as to why people should continue seducing Kalonzo, giving him the... you know what? I don't understand Kenya.
Exactly, Dr. Matsanga.
Songa, I don't understand you people. You have a very serious problem, and I have never understood In my political life that I have since I started, I've failed to understand. People like thieves. You find younger men celebrating a thief whom you know he has just stolen money. Yeah, and they are very happy defending him. And they say, he's our man, we want him. Even if a younger man tells you, even if he's a thief, we shall elect him. So I find it very interesting. So yes.
Yes, so Dr. Matsanga, I totally agree with you that this is a time-wasting tactic. You know, it is like a clandestine way of keeping the Azimio la Umoja momentum punctured and derailed through this push and pull. And when you look closely at One Kenya Alliance, these are coalitions that the media has always associated with the boardroom meetings. And in fact, in the previous reports, One Kenya Alliance will be said to have held a press conference just to tell its supporters when they're going to be having the next one. So these are people who are very, very much glued to boardroom meetings, negotiations, push and pull. And therefore, that is why I believe even they could not even be able to put their team together to master a very, very well elaborate coalition to be able to take on other coalition parties or coalition formations that were in play at that particular time. And you can see, these are the guys who moved out of NASA citing hypocrisy and conmanship. But when they went to One Kenya Alliance, they could not even agree among themselves. When Musalia Mudavadi and Moses Wetangula were leaving One Kenya Alliance, they were actually accusing their fellow co-principals of conmanship and deceit. Kalonzo Musyoka was also accusing those who left, and yesterday he said that he was actually sympathizing with them. But now, funny enough, he wants to bring the same kind of derailment politics, the kind of push and pull they have been having in Oka, back to Azimio, the confusion that Professor Kivuta Kipwani is talking about. And amidst confusion, Dr. Matsanga, you realize that we only have a very limited time before we can have the coalition formation agreement signed and we finalize everything as per the law, because by April we should be having a formidable coalition under the name of Azimio la Umoja, where all players will have been brought on board, and therefore this team can together in unison as a team unanimously hit the ground and be able to campaign for the presidential candidate of Azimio la Umoja. Look, when you look at Kenya Kwanza coalition, Musalia Mudavadi, Moses Wetangula, they joined the Kenya Kwanza coalition and they haven't even signed any kind of MOU with Kenya Kwanza. They haven't even been told which positions they're going to be given in that particular coalition. That is why we had exchange of words between Rigathi Gachagua and Musalia Mudavadi's team just the other day, because Kenya Kwanza coalition has not even declared who is going to be the president and who is going to be the deputy president. But nonetheless, we have that goodwill of working together. Why can't Kalonzo Musyoka borrow a leaf from the Kenya Kwanza coalition, albeit quite disgraceful, but it's a good maybe gesture to borrow from. You can always borrow a leaf from them and be able to see the way they are handling their matters. Okay. They haven't gone there with conditions. So, Dr. Matsanga, I believe if Kalonzo continues with that behavior of giving conditions and counter conditions, going to as new meetings and then the following days he jumps on another leaf, I believe it's going to derail our campaigns and we might not be able to achieve as much if we keep on waiting for him. So let the Azimio team step on the accelerator. Let us leave the station and continue with our campaigns. If he wants to join us, he will join us. If he doesn't want, then we shall be able to know the way forward for ourselves. I submit.
Thank you very much. On that topic, Kalonzo, it is up to you to make up your mind. You either come or you go. If you go, make a decision, let Kenyans know. If you stay, let Kenyans know. But to me, I think Azimio, the Jubilee Party has joined Azimio, and therefore Jubilee Party should make, His Excellency the President can, if he wants, he can make a last attempt. But you are attempting to make a stand with people who are going to get advice elsewhere and then come back and say, no, but bring this. An agreement of 2012 NASA things don't touch Azimio. You sort your things with Raila. So if you don't want to come to Raila and you don't want to join him, go away. And form your third alliance. Make it very quickly. Third force. And we meet after the elections are counted. The other guy has been campaigning for 4 years. He's now in the United States. Let's look at the story on the Daily Nation. Ruto tour in the United States and the United Kingdom costs 107 million Kenya shillings. Wesonga, I have been very, 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 very embarrassed by the images that I see on TV, where His Excellency handlers, digital handlers, have generated computer-generated equipment, cars, motorcade of Obama, and then put them together and put a flag of Kenya, and then they forwarded it to us, all of us, until I asked one of them, surely, can you see this one and I see this one? And where are the people? They don't even show us, they don't show Ruto coming out of the car. They don't show anybody coming. They are just like a statue standing, somebody standing at the car, a photo, not a human being. There's nobody entering the cars. Wesonga, what type of behavior is this that you see? A tour of the deputy president is costing 107 million taxpayers' money. But I saw other pictures of the president, of the deputy president, William Ruto, sorry, in churches. Evangelism has destroyed America. The type of radical religious elements, the preachings, I can now conclude firmly without any reservation, fear or favor, that Ruto went to America for preaching. He went as a preacher, or he wanted to be in churches with his brothers who can give him money. Because he's dry at the moment, he needed money from those churches. Believe me or not, the main aim, this is not an official. I've just come across a list of people who have said a private dinner. A private dinner. Yes. Thank you very much. Wesonga, make a comment quickly on that.
Yes, thank you so much, Dr. Matsanga David. And this is what we have been talking about all along, that in Kenya, we do have a ghost worker who is in the office of the deputy president, someone who has not been serving the people of Kenya, but yet again, he has been earning an illegal salary since 2018, and no one wants to raise a question about it. And today is just the manifestation of the extravagance that the deputy president has taken this country through since the days of even having the hustler jet, where he spent over 100 million on a luxurious jet traveling across the globe and having fun with his cronies. And this particular trip that he went to the US to conduct, you can actually see the kind of people that he went to meet there. You know, people who are in the US illegally, people who are deplorables in the international scene, you know, people who have been talking very senseless things about the president on the internet. These are the people who are receiving him in the US. And I thought perhaps maybe the organizers of this particular trip had quite in a while planned it quite well, because I expected that he's going to be welcomed into the US by dignitaries and well-known world leaders, only to be perturbed that these guys who have been insulting the president and his kinsmen, fellow Kalenjins who are living in the US, were the people showing up in the airport to welcome the deputy president. So that alone tells you that this was not an important meeting. So far, so good. The only high-ranking US official that the deputy president has been able to meet is the governor of Nebraska, who is not someone senior in the US administration. We've seen Gatundu North MP, Honorable Wanjiku Wakibe, met him in 2018, way back before William Ruto. So to me, I think this was a necessary trip. Yesterday, they tried to conduct a fundraiser through a dinner. Only 17 people showed up. and they could not even raise the amount of money, quarter of the amount of money that they wanted to get from that fundraiser. So I agree with you, Dr. Matsanga. This is like a church.
Did you see the list of that dinner?
Absolutely, Dr. Matsanga, and actually
the names on the list, not 17 people, there were 30 people.
Yes, and out of actually 17 people are the only one who are able to contribute the intended amount of $1,000 per plate. The rest of them were joyriders and people who could not even do $300 for that particular dinner, and that tells you that Dr. Matsanga, unlike here in Kenya, where people still
let's go slow. The dinner was from one tribe.
Yes, absolutely. 90%.
The list is out now. One tribe of 30 people. They were supposed to contribute 1,000 bob. I know that restaurant down the Leham Wall. I know it. We have eaten there. That is one of the restaurants where where Shaka Sally took me to eat while I was in Washington sometime years ago. And it's a very expensive restaurant, yes. But I am not. Yes, go on.
Yes, and that is really a shame, because everything that is associated with that particular trip is actually flopping. First of all, it was the cold reception. He looked like he was the only stranger in the palace. Coming to the US, and the people who turned up to welcome him actually were below the expectation of majority of Kenyans. And then his handlers go ahead to download pictures of President Barack Obama when he was in Kenya. And also I saw one of the pictures of a vehicle which was used by President Uhuru Kenyatta in his last trip in the US also being fished out from the internet and being used. But nonetheless, we know how these things work. Nowadays, with the technology, you can always be able to backtrack a photo from its original source and be able to know where was it posted first. And therefore, it has been a trip which has brought more shame than the glory that it was anticipated to bring to the deputy president. And even the intended fundraiser that was supposed to be carried out in the US has only turned up to be a flop. And I saw even the list you posted of the names of the people who attended that particular dinner yesterday. And it's actually a composition of 90% one tribe and only a few other Kenyans from different parts of the country showed up. And that shows you that this is a candidate who is being fronted by a single party, and this is a candidate who does not even have the support of the international community. Neither does he have the support of the Kenyans in diaspora, because I believe we have so many well-to-do Kenyans who are in the US, who are working in the US, who are patriots of the United States of America, who will even go to such a dinner and be able to contribute $10,000 plus in terms of monies for the dinner. But all it has turned out to be a big embarrassment to the conveners of this particular trip to the UK. I really wonder, Dr. Matsanga, what he's going to be doing for the next remaining 10 days, if the first 2 days have been quite an embarrassment to him, Dr. Matsanga.
I think the remaining 10 days are just evangelical. Yesterday he was with the pastors, bishops. He's collecting all of them across. They have a lot of money, and he has gone there for begging the money. There are serious informants of mine within the delegation. So don't worry about that. We shall be telling the truth. When the Tumbi and the group generate computer-generated motorcade, the others are telling us, no, it is not. It is not. It's not true. So this is purely a fundraising. And the law in Kenya is very clear. I'm asking this because Mr. Chebukati has told us that fundraising is not allowed anymore in Kenya. Political parties should not fundraise. But when you have the diaspora sitting down and contributing $1,000 a plate of food towards the campaign, where is that money going? Who is accounting for that money? Because the diaspora in the United States are going to be voting in Kenya. What is your view about that?
I believe, Dr. Matsanga, that is in contravention of the law. You know, you don't move from Kenya to go to overseas to conduct something that has actually been banned in Kenya. Let's say, for example, here in Kenya, we have an anti-terror law where you, as citizen of this country, is not allowed to engage in terror-related activities. What happens if a Kenyan does not commit, engage in terror-related activities here in Kenya, but rather chooses to go even to Uganda or any other countries overseas? That will still be a criminal offense. And I can assure you that upon landing at JKIA or even at the port of Mombasa, you will be actually be arrested and be taken to court immediately to answer to the accusations and the crimes of terror. So I believe the same way, the law cannot be, you cannot circumvent around the law in that now, because fundraisers have been banned by the law here in Kenya because of the timelines we have by IABC. Now you go to the US and the UK to do the same illegality and come back home and use the money against the advantage of your competitors. I believe Wafula Chebukati has been sleeping on the job for quite too long, Dr. Matsanga, and this is something that is gonna rock the boat of elections in this country, if not controlled, because he seems to be closing one eye on other aspirants and other contenders, whereas he's very, very keen to witch hunt other political players. You see the case of Sabina Chege. Why is she being taken through all that despite the fact that she's actually ailing in an hospital? You see, Wafula Chebukati has been unable to actually even control people from premature campaigns. William Ruto has been, for the record, campaigning since 2017. William Ruto has been dishing money, outright bribery of voters, since 2017. Wafula Chebukati has never even called a disciplinary committee to be able to do an inquest and find out why these particular aspirants, first of all, is engaging in premature early campaigns, and secondly, why he's dishing out money to the electorate, which is against the electoral laws, and above all, where is the source of this money that he's giving out in plenty? All those actually make an election to be a skewed exercise, because an election is not a one-day event. An election is a process, and if the process is skewed at any particular level, then be very sure, Tamasanga, I believe it is an illegality, and if we have a very serious chairman at the helm of IEBC, then he should be able to summon William Ruto to come and explain why he went to the US to fundraise despite the timelines in the law not allowing such to happen at this particular time, point in time. But because we have a caricature at the center of IEBC, a man whose brother is doing business with William Ruto, he cannot, you will not see that happening anytime soon. And that is why I believe these particular elections that are coming could actually turn out to be a disaster in Kenya, not simply because Kenyans are maybe willing to go to violence, but because IBC is so much determined in making sure that the elections is bungled. Because Wafula Chebukati has been showing ineptitude, negligence, and lack of interest in actually enforcing the laws that will make sure that this election is free, fair, credible, and verifiable. I submit, Dr. Masanga.
Thank you very much. Viewers, we leave the topic of Ruto and his spending spree. Let's look at the Daily Nation again, top on the top of Daily Nation. Kenya puts 35 oil blocks up for sale. Is this a disaster, Wesonga? Are we caught in any trouble? Oil is the black gold, the black chaos. The moment you put it up, you'll have a lot of companies coming in. Have we structured this oil industry properly?
Dr. Matsanga, I believe there's much homework to be done in terms of structuring, and I think you brought up the issue of structuring. That is the most important thing. You know, today countries like Congo are in chaos simply because when the Belgians left Congo, they left Congo with a lot of resources. They left Congo being a country with a lot of interest in the Western world, and they never left a structure where these companies which wanted to mine these minerals would come, engage the government of Congo, be able to get into these mines and be able to extract the resources. That is the same problem we used to have with Angola. The Sonangol of Angola came on board and were able to put up structures or in regards to the extraction of oil in Angola. That is the same scenario. Even countries like Canada, countries like Australia and New Zealand developed in order to be able to extract their minerals such as gold and oil without having a crisis. But you realize that countries like Congo, South Sudan, and Central Africa Republic, we have a haphazard structure where even the foreign investors such as Total, such as Shell, do not know who to engage. And therefore, because we do not have a structure, you realize that these unscrupulous companies, global companies, actually go and engage rebels and other unscrupulous locals who give them a very, very fair price for them to extract resources without paying taxes, without even adhering to international standards of regulation that call for them to even actually employ a certain percentage of the local population. Also make sure that we have environmental consideration and all those other specifics that need to be put in place before those minerals can be extracted. So I believe, Dr. Matsanga, for Kenya, we might not want to follow that route of dishonor which has put Congo into a conflict, that route which has put Western Central African Republic into conflict, that same route where Mozambique right now is in a crisis, because we do not have that kind of structure. Because if we had such kind of structure, then there will be no infighting. The Western powers will not find a loophole where they could bring in Al-Shabaab, so that we have the kind of instability that we have in Cabo Delgado, and they come there and do their mining of drilling of oil and other resources. So I believe structure and capacity building is very, very important, so that even as we auction these oil blocks, we will have companies, we'll have countries which will come to negotiate directly with our government. The government will lay on the table whatever demands and whatever protocols that ought to be followed, so that at the end of the day, it is a win for the people of the Republic of Kenya and not a few unscrupulous individuals. And also, in terms of security, we don't allow unscrupulous dealers to come and be able to infiltrate our society the way they have done in West Africa, the way they have done in Central Africa and parts of South Africa. So I agree with you that we need to have a structure. We need to build capacity. I've been able to indulge with people who are in the private sector, and you come, when you talk to them maybe about regulation, you realize that in Kenya you have a myriad of players, especially in the financial sector, who have come to Kenya, and we really do not have even structure. Look, for example, even betting, the kind of damage that the betting industry was doing to our society. Look, for example, even these small microfinance or loan-giving companies. These are companies which are unregulated. Today, Kenyans are crying about investors who come and collect money and do not accomplish whatever promise they make to the people of Kenya in terms of investment, simply because our economy, or maybe our sectors, different sectors of economy, are not well structured and do not have a very clear-cut regulation. So I agree with you, Dr. Matsanga, that before we engage these foreign investors who want to come and purchase the oil blocks, before we even put them up for auction, then we need to have a proper structure, a very clear-cut regulation and law that will enable us to achieve the optimum returns from whichever deals that we're going to be signing with these global companies that are interested in the oil blocks. I submit, Dr. Matsanga.
Okay, thank you very much, Daniel. And it is 11 o'clock East African Standard Time. The other newspapers that talk about Kenya, Kalonzo U-turn puts Raila in a tight corner. That is the Star newspaper from Kenya. You can pick it, a copy, and we don't sell for them. They should also give us commission for selling their papers. And then we have the Standard newspaper, that Azimio storm over security power deal. It is here again. You can also read and find out. Back in Kenya and then across the world, in Africa, we have meetings. I think there is a NEPAD meeting in Kenya today as we speak. Leaders of African Union are supposed to be somewhere. I don't know whether my production team has found out where that meeting is. But there you are. Thank you very much. Welcome back to Matsanga Africa Perspective. This morning, we come to the end of our show. And on top of this hour, we are going to talk about Russia and Ukraine, the diplomatic leaks. Our show coming up. Don't miss this one, because it is one of the best that you will know the reasons behind all this media. You are going to know the reasons why Russia invaded Ukraine. You listen them from the man himself here. Don't go away. Thank you very much. Keep watching. This is Punchline Africa Television. Let's go on the job. Thank you.